One thing that we get asked here all the time is why is it so important for you to seal your stone before you grout? This demonstration is just going to show you exactly why we advise our customers to do that. And basically it's to stop residual grout from absorbing into the surface of the stone. Grout is obviously wet, it's got moisture in it. If a stone isn't sealed, it is a fantastic absorber of grout. Now, just for this demonstration, I'm going to grout in this prepared sample board that we have only half sealed with an impregnating sealer. And I'm forcing the grout, as you can see, into the joint as you would normally. And this is exactly how someone would be doing it on site. Now, for demonstration purposes, obviously we're using a darker grout. And the reason we're using a darker grout is because it will help to illustrate what the problem is when we start to clean off and sponge off this grout from the surface of the limestone. So I'm just going to take off as much excess as I possibly can from the surface, like so. Now, what you would normally do now is leave that to firm off a little bit before you start sponging off. But for this demonstration, I'm actually going to sponge it off almost straight away. So you can see, obviously, some of the grout has gone into some of the natural fissures in the limestone. So I'm sponging off as you would normally if you were on site somewhere. Like so. Now you have to be careful obviously not to wet the grout too much, so it's important to wring your sponge out and pass it over the surface of the stone as frequently as possible. Now, what we'll do is we'll leave that to dry and we will come back to it later. Well, welcome back. We have now left this to dry for 30 minutes. I'm just going to give it a bit of a dust off to get rid of all the final sort of loose particles of grout that might be on the surface, or what we call the grout dust. So dusting it off just removes the remainder. Now, if I hold this board up, hopefully you'll be able to see the difference. This side is darker, this side is lighter. The reason this side is lighter is because this side has been sealed and protected with an impregnating sealer prior to grouting. This side has not. So as a result, during the grouting process, grout has absorbed into the open pores of the stone, altering its character and making it much, much darker. Obviously, to keep your limestone as light as you possibly can, so you would use a lighter grout, which helps. You would impregnate it with an impregnating sealer. What happens is the active is carried into the pore by water or a spirit, depending on what type of sealer it is. That evaporates, leaving the active behind in the pore of the stone without changing its character. That active then repels and prevents any residual grout or moisture carrying grout particles into the stone. On this side, obviously it hasn't. It's very dark. You can see lots of tiny little pinholes, and we'll give you a close-up of that. You can see where all the tiny little pinholes have filled up with grout, making the stone appear a lot darker. So our message today is, if you want to prevent your stone from staining from cement or grout, always make sure that it is properly protected before you grout. And that is not one coat of sealer, that's not 2 coats of sealer, that is as many coats of sealer as that particular stone will take in order to fill the pores to the point of saturation. And people quite often ask me, what is the point of saturation? And a really good answer to that is it's when you can see a reasonably even layer of sealer on the surface of the stone after about 20 or 30 minutes. Now, when that happens, the best thing to do is just wipe off any excess and then leave it to dry naturally. And again, the other question we get asked is, how long do I leave it before I grout? We always advise that customers should leave their stone for at least 2 hours before they grout in the joints.